everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Michael. I lead Codebase. It's the incubator for the Avalanche ecosystem. And I have a few members of our cohorts here. So if you don't know about Codebase, as I mentioned, we are the incubator. We've done 2 full cohorts of companies so far. We are currently in our 3rd. And we're actually nearing up demo day soon, so hopefully you guys are ready. I see you're already competing by sitting next to each other and trying to start a fight, so that's great. Today we're just going to have a conversation really around like what we do as an organization about how we support early stage builders. So with this, I'm going to turn it over for a quick round of intros, and then we'll just start to jump into some questions.
Hi everyone, I'm Lynette. I'm part of Codebase's Season 2 cohort, and essentially I'm the founder of Disgo, which essentially is Discover and Go meshed together. We're a consumer app that helps restaurants and bars leverage word-of-mouth marketing. So, yeah.
Hello everyone, my name is Agbona. You can call me AG. I'm part of the 2nd cohort as well. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Chiss protocol. So we're basically bringing the FX market on-chain, utilizing non-USD stablecoin and USD stablecoin for global payments, cross-border remittance, and basically trade.
Hey everybody, my name is Alejandro. I'm a first-generation American based out of Miami, Florida. I'm the co-founder of NAMELESS, the data layer for fan engagement. We help sports organizations capture, understand, and monetize their fan bases. Fans are interacting through a lot of different mediums, merchandise, socials, ticketing. We bring all that data in one place and give a fan journey to these scattered interactions that are happening.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Belitsky. I'm the founder and CEO of Hashfire, and we make legal agreements bulletproof, programmable digital assets, which means that something like an accounts receivable or a purchase order, for example, brought on-chain through Hashfire can immediately be funded and can be used as collateral. And so our goal is really to make legal agreements another asset class inside of the DeFi ecosystem.
Cool. Thanks, y'all. John, I'm actually going to throw it to you first, and I really think you did a good job of outlining, what you had viewed as kind of our framework for providing for support. And I know that you work in the larger ecosystem as well, so feel free to, not limit this to Codebase. But I guess the question is really what do we provide? I mean, I can tell you what we provide, and it's a very ideally polished pitch. But I'd like to hear it from you, and maybe from everyone else. Then maybe react to what John is saying and see where what's been successful, maybe. With what we've doing, also perhaps what you've experienced elsewhere, not necessarily in other ecosystems, but in other programs, or even just as founders in general. Would love to hear this and frankly just be a part of this conversation. So John, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, no, I'm not a paid shell for Codebase. It'll sound like it, but I find the program to be really unique. Its structure sort of like oscillates between an incubator and an accelerator at times, and it's fairly agnostic to where you are along your startup journey. And so you basically, what I thought was most interesting about it is you enter into this program, and then these subject matter experts just start to circle around you and ask you what you need, and then provision the resources you require on the spot. It's a little bit of like a startup magic trick, and start to slot you into these places. So from really the concept, storytelling, technology stack, and meeting with the technical team at Avalanche, the capital stack, and meeting with VCs, investors, and people who are familiar with the capital raise, all the way through to go-to-market product. There's somebody along the way in this program that sort of guides you. And I'm allergic to dilution. And the fact that you guys were, frankly, generous enough to provide a $50,000 grant that's completely non-dilutive at time 0 in this process really kind of gets the engine going, and it makes it easy to be part of a program. Whereas, generally speaking, when you join one of these programs, they'll give you $100,000 or they'll give you $150,000, but the caveat is you're going to get massive dilution with the promise of something. And every VC and every accelerator has something that they're offering, and it's unclear if you're ever going to get that. And in most cases, you don't, frankly. It's sort of like a sad story of startups. But my experience has been the exact opposite so far. So,
Yeah, I think kind of to add on to that is that their incentive and structures are kind of more aligned than like a traditional VC accelerator program, because, it's not just equity that a VC structure would want to invest in, but they also genuinely benefit and grow. We can grow together, and it really feels that way when we're part of Codebase. And yeah, even after we've graduated in season 2 and they're on to season 3, we still feel that support. I still touch base with my ecosystem growth lead every other week, so it's very hands-on, and yeah.
I'll touch on a little bit on my front. So I think the business side is very important as well, because we community Codebase. During my introduction, I mentioned FINA. Well, we had FINA protocol at the time, which was kind of like different for what we currently have now. It was using our custodial system to actually help users collateralize stablecoins to access fiat loans. Coming to Codebase, I think I had like a very good interaction with the members of the team from our mentor, and they kind of took our business model to the way that we now have FINA as a base layer, and now be the Chiss on top of FINA. So we have FINA serving as a customer front-facing app. Then the protocol, it's like on Avalanche doing all the transactions. So I say on the business front, it's very, very important because it helps us.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think a good word to capture, I think what everyone said is holistic. Since our first conversation with Michael, he emphasized storytelling from the start. And, seems like a very personal guy, but I think Michael's really a puppet master. And I think his grander vision, not to get ahead of what's going to happen the next couple of weeks, because we're all locked and loaded on demo day, putting our best foot forward. There are a lot of really thoughtful synergies between the 5 teams in this cohort. And so, it might be too early to start having that conversation, but I have a feeling that Michael has a grander vision for how all the teams in the cohort can kind of grow together.
Yeah, I do take perverse pleasure in being called a puppet master, so thank you for putting that on the record.
Anytime.
I think this is great, and thank you guys for all such nice things to say. I promise they're not being paid for saying these things, but I do want to touch more on, yes, we're serving you guys in these regards. I'd say, I don't know, what are the types of things that, as a builder, you're wanting to see when you're starting out your journey? I think this is, forgive me, not in our questions when we were preparing for this, but I do think it's something that comes to mind is, something that I'm always trying to do is really understand, what are my customers' pain points, right? Like I'm effectively operating a startup here. It's just that you're all my customers. So what are you seeing that, A, is valuable? We already got that answer ideally. B, what do you really need as a founder? And then from there, maybe how can we help grow that? What can we do? And then also where are we doing it in a way that, is already, adding a lot of value? So maybe if you want to kick us off, one of you, maybe Lynette. And I know that we've had a lot of conversations, including just about a half an hour ago. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like as a first-time founder, it's very lonesome sometimes, and you don't know where to go, and there's so many aspects to a business, not just growth, there's marketing, there's legal, there's product, there's, all of so many facets, and you just kind of you're like, where do I even begin? And I think they do a really good job of laying out each individual aspect, and then kind of how do we put that together to kind of change your, help you strategize your pitch and your story to, market it out to your consumers, the VC capitalists, and all those people. So I think there's, your story and your strategies are always changing, but it's all about putting all the pieces together and how to tell that. And I think Codebase does a really good job, and we talk about it all the time about different strategies and how we can kind of piece that towards our ultimate mission. So, yeah.
Yeah, what's important to you when you're thinking about how to evaluate, I don't know, bringing on other partners? So, we're not the only, we're an investor certainly, but at the end of the day, we're also this program. So you're going to be bringing on other people into your capital stack or partnerships elsewhere. I'd be curious to think about, from the perspective of a founder, what are those important attributes to have a partner be value add? Maybe Alejandro.
Yeah, I think Lynette did a great job of outlining some of the tactical offerings and support. To, I guess, take a step back and make it a little bit more meta, I think the founder journey is based on belief on a lot of levels. First, it's belief in yourself, then being able to expand that belief to a co-founder, to a user, to a client, to investors, kind of in that order. And so, it's a huge way to show that you believe in us, you believe in our potential. And I think those signals are really important to founders, especially when, some weeks things aren't moving along, and then you get a piece of good news. And so I guess providing that belief for us, I think, at a high level was super helpful.
Maybe to add on to that is, I think it's really important to kind of really build. Everyone says talk to your customers. I, now have started to build relationships with our customers. They have been really integral in kind of our strategy and how, because ultimately that's who we're building for. And so it's really important to have some mentors from your customer base really kind of help mentoring you and helping you strategize. And that's someone else you would probably want on board. So.
Speaking about having a customer be a mentor, that actually speaks directly to us, because during demo day we had Mr. Lucky, who was like I'll say our golden customer. He's someone that actually has a business in Africa and parts of the world. And then it was very important speaking to him before before the demo day, building that story, that narrative with him. And then right now, after Codebase, we went to him, show him like this was the demo day. We used you as our ID user, and then obviously, once the product is live, you'll be the first person who onboard it. So that's very, very important for us.
Yeah, and I'm curious, like, you guys are all in various stages. Some of you have founded companies before, some of you have not. What's the best way to work with us, do you think, if you're a new founder and you want to, I don't know, maybe you're not even sure you want to build on Avalanche? Like, you find me in a crowd. What are you telling me that's going to, actually make this very valuable for you and get value out of the things that you know that we can provide? Maybe John.
Yeah, for me, I think it's, I think knowing that the team around Codebase has seen some version that approximates what you're trying to do. They've seen the pitfalls, and they already have a sense for what you're trying to accomplish. That's the key. That's what makes the whole process valuable. So it's really about, can you enunciate as clearly as possible what you're trying to accomplish, and then let these really experienced people fill in those gaps and say, all right, here's the 5 things you don't want to do. Here's the 5 things you do want to do. Here's the 3 people I'm going to send an email for tomorrow that you should speak to. And, that process, that was my experience, frankly. And that process saves me, I don't know, 6, 12 months easily. And God knows how much capital. And so for me, like, I think that's what any founder should want to do. And then even if you don't even get in the program, I think that the feedback you'll get in just going through that process will accelerate you in its own right. It really starts to crystallize these ideas.
Yeah, I'd be curious, maybe Lynette, I'd be curious, because I know that you've kind of been working within the ecosystem prior to joining this program, and we had at least spoken probably 6 months prior to even joining. So I think that your perspective is unique because all of these folks are here, right? So they're kind of in a similar position to you are. So maybe how would you answer that question?
Yeah, I came from exchanges, crypto exchanges, worked at Enclave Markets, who's also a subsidiary of Avalabs, and so very different from what I do now in hospitality. I think I came to Michael a couple months earlier before we got accepted into season 2 with just the idea, and then, I think we were able to kind of build that out even more and kind of show forth even more the idea and picture, and we got into season 2. I think honestly it's a little bit about grit and having that belief that Alejandro mentioned in yourself, because that's ultimately, I think, your biggest factor in stopping you from trying something. I left the finance industry to basically try and do this, and with the support of Michael and his team, I've honestly feel like I can do this, and I feel like Disgo has really legitimized itself, and we've grown from 1 partnership to 8 now, and are expanding with more strategies, and we talked 30 minutes before about how to expand that. So it is a really just great program and support, and yeah. So
Lynette, what did you have built when you applied to the program? Like, anything at all?
No, we launched testnet for demo day. So we were building for demo day. So, and then we found a pilot partner through the program, and they gave us ideas of how to, find restaurants to reach out to. And now we have an advisor who's a connection through Michael, who's really a seasoned hospitality entrepreneur, but also understands Web3. Like, that's such a rare person to find, and now he's onboarded on as an advisor for Disgo, which is awesome.
AG, I'd be curious because your experience is a bit different than Lynette's, whereas we didn't know each other prior to you joining the program, and I think we met only through the application process. So I'd love to hear more of like, what was that process like for you, and then also, what did you find to be, I don't know, the most compelling ways, I think, where with working with us through the process, and then also now post-process?
So before actually applying for Codebase, we kind of like were tinkering around the idea of maybe like an on-chain FINA, so to speak. So we spoke to a number of other blockchains, like I don't want to mention him, but one of the biggest was we kind of like in talks with them for a very long time. And it was kind of like very interesting for us because during the times we're having those conversations, that's when we applied for Codebase. And then we now went to Kenya for a founder's residency. So while we're there, we started the interview process was kind of interesting, and I had to read more about Codebase because at the time, a connection of mine just dropped the link and said, I think you should look at this, right? So I just applied. I spent like one night, applied for the whole thing. Then actually, that was the second time I had to go back to actually read about Codebase. And obviously, I've been in and around the Avalanche ecosystem as an investor, and it was kind of interesting for me. So during the interview, like spoke with you and the other guys on the panel, and it was kind of like, wow, this might be what we're looking for in terms of like a tailored approach, in terms of like the support. So getting to Codebase, we couldn't make it to Argentina because of timeline for applications and whatnot. But it was very interesting because we were not there, but we were sort of there because of the help we got. And that was very, very...
That was very bad technical support on my end.
Well,
So
but
there are things I can do well. That
it worked
is not
for
one of
us.
my apologies.
It worked for us, right? And that we value that. And that actually showed how much you guys can go over and beyond to actually make everybody feel included. And that we really appreciate. And post Codebase, obviously, like Lynette said, we still speak with our mentor regularly. Like whenever we need support, we just hit him up and then he gets, so I think it's tailored support. Coming from the outside, I know that other people have been here before myself, but then it's somewhere I don't want to leave anymore. So I really appreciate the support, and then yeah.
Cool. That's great. So we have a few minutes left. What are you guys doing afterwards? Not tonight. I mean, like, you guys are about to get out of the program. You're doing, your next either fundraising, and we've had conversations this morning where you are. Tell everyone else. It doesn't need to be talking about, how great we are. That's nice. We appreciate it. But at the end of the day, I mean, we're all in this journey together at this point. So I really want to have you share with all these folks and see if there's an opportunity for anyone to plug in. So, what's next for you, Lynette?
Yeah, so we're kind of doing a strategic shift, and like I said, talking to your customers is super important. So one of our customers / now kind of mentor gave us a really great idea to essentially not only put our Disgo partners on the map, but also put non-Disgo partners and figure out how to leverage that and convert them into Disgo partners. And so that's kind of the shift that we're making, and it's going to help us scale a lot easier and faster as well.
So if you own a restaurant or know people who like going to restaurants,
Yes.
send them to Disgo.
It'll be easier for us to reach your city.
That's right.
Yeah, for us right now, we're actually like neck deep in development. So one of the feedback we got today from one of the advisors is to actually get more developers, maybe reduce our runway, but then get the product out there faster. And then so for us right now, we're hiring. You can talk to me afterwards about our stack. So we're looking at bringing 1 or 2 developers on board to actually try to get the product out there. And then we're having our test net in a couple of months' time.
Perfect. Yeah, and just to note, I think this is something that you bring up, and you guys have all talked about Codebase, and yes, we do have, it's a great program. I'm very fortunate to have the opportunity to run it and have started it. That being said, though, I'm merely a linchpin. I have a great team that really I leverage all the time internally at Avalabs, and also then at the Avalanche Foundation. So our builders programs are not exclusively this. We have a bunch of other grant programs. We have hackathons. Then after the program, we have a couple of team members who will meet with folks around VC and just like general, company advisement. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we called them out and really gave them the due, because I'm mostly a facilitator. And they're the really ones, I think, leaning in and offering a lot of that advice. So anyways, yes, hiring devs, you know where to find them.
For sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say for us at NAMELESS, top of mind is closing our big first enterprise deal in the sports market, a particularly hard market to get into. So I guess any introductions to other sports organizations would be great. our main focus is building a really amazing product for them, seeing how much of that tech and processes and systems are transferable to other organizations. And after that, fundraising. I'm a first-time founder, but lifelong builder. We have a really good team of, we like to say, master bootstrappers. And I think in these really fast-paced, emerging, innovative markets, by the time you ideate, build, launch, raise, the opportunity a lot of the times is gone. So it's kind of our first real go at a formalized raise. And so really looking forward to delving deeper into Codebase's resources on that end.
Cool. Yeah, and I think also to speak to that, if you're in the audience and then you're an investor, you know, this team specifically, at least in one of our regards, we have a great sports vertical that our business development team has been cultivating over the past few years, and the complementarity there, I think, is really unique. So not only, you know, the beauty of your investing in what I believe to be a great team, also you're really buying into that interoperability within this vertical, and you know, we're quickly establishing ourselves as a chain of record for a lot of these sports teams and leagues. So there's a whole narrative that, you know, I don't think you want to miss, just given this opportunity with the early stage of this team. So hope you don't mind the plug.
Appreciate it, and spot on.
Go ahead, John.
Let's see. So first of all, I want to shout out my team. So 4 of our teammates are here: Avery, Roy, Chaffee, and Tolu. My team has been exceptional, and today we signed up 35 users on a $1.5 million investment fund, and Hashfire ran the rails for all those LP subscriptions, and these guys were able to hustle that together at the same time that they released our Pro API with our payments built into it. So now you can create a contract, you can fund that contract, and then the last piece of that is DeFi and financing. And so at this conference, we solidified a plan to now fund about $5 million worth of incredibly high quality, strong credit contracts. So I'm looking for LPs to invest into that DeFi product, which I estimate will be probably about 9 or 10% coupon yield. And we are also raising. So we're looking for investors, we're looking for more partners.
Cool. And
I'm sure you'll be helpful along the way, as you have been.
We saw the Van Eck announcement this morning, so hopefully that might be complementary to what you're building. But I think also with you guys, you know, if you're making those deals here at the summit, I feel like that's a great testament to part of this broader platform, right? And this is something that I've been trying to cultivate over the course of these few days, is making sure you all have the opportunities to meet with each other and then have these really, you know, tightly knit relationships facilitated. So I'm happy to hear that happened. That's great.
I'm happy to report it.
Great. We just major announcement from the stage. Perfect. Thank you. Well, that's it for us today. We really appreciate y'all showing up. If you have any questions, of course, for any of these folks, please come find them. Quick pitch for Codebase. We are currently accepting applications for our 4th cohort. We are specifically looking for folks who have a working demo and who up to pre-product market fit. So we're going a little bit later stage for this one. And that cohort will kick off at the end of September. However, applications do close in the next couple of weeks on, I believe, June 5th. So you can visit our website, codebase.avax.network, find out more, apply there, tell your friends, and ask anyone for, you know, the off-the-record deal as soon as we get off the stage. So, all right, thank you all so much. Really appreciate y'all.